Okay, so just midterm review. I won't review everything. I'll review what I feel will help you score the most points. Okay, so the exam focuses a lot on making sure that you understand variable scope. I'll demonstrate. So we'll start with loops. Okay, so we have a number, and then we have a loop. We have another number, and we loop x number of times. Then we have another number. What is the value of num? Okay, so let me include IOStream using cout. Okay, so the value of num is, okay, well, let's see. Is it 0 or is it 5? Okay, so then we go ahead and execute it. And well, I need to make sure that I increment I, otherwise that happens, right? Infinite loop, sorry. I was just focusing on the variable scope. So we go ahead and run it, and value is 0. Why? Because this number num is only visible in the while block, while this num is visible in the main function block, all of this part right here. Okay, so then we do that. Okay, so that's one question that you will definitely see, and then if you understand the scope, then this kind of questions shouldn't give you problems. Okay, so let me okay, let me think here. Yeah, so then another question you might get is num is 5, like that, and then I'll ask you what is the value of num in this code block, and as you can see now, the value of num is 5 because while doesn't have any new num declared. Thus, when we say num equals 5, it's using this one right here. So please make sure you understand that. Okay, so that's a variable scope. The same thing holds for for loops, if blocks, to while blocks. Okay, so if you understand this and you get this type of questions in the exam, then you should know how to answer these type of questions. Okay, other questions that deal with scope that you will definitely see in the exam are with variable scope and functions. Okay, so let me demonstrate that. So I'll jump here to the functions, and we have function scope. Okay, so we have a global variable 5. Okay, and then we have the function scope. So I may have something like this, cout num, and I will ask you, what is the value of num on line 4? Why will I ask that? Because maybe there's another num in the code, right? So I'll be specific. So the answer to this one should be 5. So we go ahead and run this to demonstrate this. And notice the answer is 5. Okay. So also, let's jump back here. I may have something like this, and I'll ask you, is this program correct? Meaning, will it run? And yes, it will run, so I will demonstrate that. So run. So notice the program ran and it's displaying global num value is 5. Thus it's reading this variable right here. So how does it look for num? Well, it looks for num in the main scope. There's no nums. So then it goes ahead and goes to the global scope up here to see if we declared num, and we did, and we gave it a value. So then it displays the value 5. You may also see this question. So notice the difference now. So num, I removed this statement. I created a new num in the function. Okay. So then I will ask, what is the value of this function? The output, right? So we are trying to display num. So then you have an option, right? You'll have 5, 10, and maybe 20, right? 20 something. So if we run this program, the answer is 10. So num is 10. Why? Because our program will look for num in main first. If it finds it in main, then it'll display it. If it does not find it in main, then it'll go into the global scope. It will not go in the function scope to see if it exists, because we cannot go lower levels, we can only go higher levels. So main is here and global is higher level, so it can only go higher level. So our code will not know that there is a num in func scope. Okay, please remember that. Okay, so those, you will see a lot of these questions. Okay, make sure that you understand this. And now I'll go and touch references. So you will get questions that ask you about references. And references, if you can remember, that a reference points to another variable in memory, then you should not have any problems with this type of questions. So let me remove this. So one question you may see is, ref value a clone of value? That you'll get that question, meaning is it a clone? So we run this program to show you that it is, right? So value 5, so value is 5, and then we display the variable. Let me go ahead and display the other piece now, sorry. And then let me remove this, right? So now we're like, okay, make it a clone. And then we're like, well, if you are a clone, then if I display ref value, I should get the value 5. So we run it, and we do get the value 5. And notice, if we do ampersand and the name of the variable, we will see the name of the variable, the name, the address that value is stored at. And if we say ref underscore value, we can run this program. And notice that we get the same output, FFOC, FFOC. Why? Because ref is a clone of value. So if you get the question like this, then you should be able to say yes, ref value is a clone of value. And then another question you may get is, you may see this statement here and then this statement here, making it a clone. And then we will use ref underscore value equals 10, and the question will ask you, what is the value of value? So if it is a clone, then we should be able to modify value, so the answer should be 10. And we will go ahead and run this program. And notice that the value is 10. Okay, so if you understand this piece, then you should not have any issues with this type of questions. Okay. Okay, then we jump to value and reference parameters. And again, this is just testing your knowledge of reference parameters, but also value or copy parameters. So we have this code here. Okay. So I'm going to move this code here, but I will comment it out just to show you. No, I won't do that. So you may get a question like this. So we include valref, include IOStream using cout, and then we will see something like this. So call by valref. So we will have autonum equals 1, autonum 1 equals 2, and then we call and use those in functions. And just to avoid confusion, I'll create num2 also. Okay, so you will see something like this. Okay, so let's go back and look at the code for valref. Num equals 10, num1 equals 20. Okay, and right here num equals 1, num1 equals 2, and num2 equals 5. So then the question will be, what is the value of num1? Okay, so that might be one question, and you'll see some code like this. And then the key here is to know that if we do not see the memory operator, then it is passed by value, or a copy of this variable is created in memory, and thus the value will still be 1. We go ahead and run that to show you. So 1, okay. Another question you might get is, from this same setup, is what is the value of num1? And then we go look at the function prototype, and here we see that it is a reference because it's using the memory operator. So then num1 is being assigned 20, meaning num1 has a clone here, thus the value will not be 2, instead it will be 20. And we go ahead and run this program. And we see the value 20, okay? Okay. And then you may get a question about Const Ref, and it'll ask you if Const Ref is read-only or if it allows you to write it, and we know that it is read-only. This reference variable int num1 is read-write, meaning we can read it and we can write to it. This one is a copy, even so it is read-write, but we are writing a copy to a copy. Okay, so remember that. And from this we can go and look at a diagram, because it's important to understand how to see these in memory. So we go here. Okay, so if we have a value parameter, meaning a parameter that does not have the address operator like this, then in memory, let me go back to main, we will have this in memory. A copy of it will be created in memory when we use it as a parameter. Let's see how that would work, right? So okay, probably too confusing to use this diagram. So what I will do is I will create a new one. Okay, so I will come back here and then use this to diagram this piece. Okay, and assuming this is main, right? So assuming this is main, Okay, so that's our main function. And then assuming, just to give us a clear picture of what we're looking at, we will simply put the header right here, right? So assuming this is the header file, and this is main.cpp, okay? So we will go ahead and diagram this. We have a stack. So we have num right here. So that's 1. We have num2, value of 2. Actually num1, right? Okay, num1. And then we have num2, value of 5. We call by ref, right? So we know this is the main memory chunk, and maybe more, but we want to keep it simple here. And then this is the memory chunk for call by ref num. So when this function executes, we will have a copy. So num is a copy. So this is a copy. This one is a copy. So this one will go somewhere in the memory chunk for call by ref num, and it will have a copy. So it's a value of 1. And then we will have num1. So in the memory chunk for call by ref, somehow we have to refer back to this one, assuming this is memory x100. So then we will have x100 here, and that is for parameter for this parameter. And then finally we will have num2 right here, okay? And num2 is also, actually this will not be 100, that's on me. That will be the next, so it'll be 96. It'll be this one, 96, okay, so x96. And then what we will have here will be x92. So notice they are clones of this one's right here. So then this one is read write. This one is read only. Okay, so if you understand this diagram, then any questions that you get regarding diagrams, then you should be able to answer accordingly, okay? Okay, so then we'll move into strings. And you will get questions dealing with strings, right? It'll ask you where the string stores data, and the data is on the heap, okay? So how do we read this? So a character, letter A, stores the value on the stack. If we have a string alpha, ABCD, then it stores its data, ABCD, on the stack, and assuming this address Y96 is the first memory address for A, then on the stack, alpha will be pointing to memory address Y96. Point here is the data is stored on the heap. Same thing holds for a vector. A vector stores its values on the heap, okay? So if you understand this, you should not have any problems. One of the questions you will see is, where does the string store its data? And where does the vector store its data? Both of them are on the heap, okay? So if you know that, then you should not have any issues with this. Okay, so let me come back to the vector here. So notice the vector stores its data on the heap also. Same example, we have numbers list or vector has 3 elements, 1, 2, 3. They are on the heap. Assuming miraculously it was y96 too, then numbers will store address y96 and be pointing to the first element on the heap. And that's how a vector stores its memory. Okay. Let me think what else here. For repetition structures, make sure you understand that the while loop may execute one time, may execute 0 or 1 or 0 or more times. For a for loop, make sure that you understand that usually the amount of times that it will loop is known before the loop starts. And for a do while, it will always execute at least one time, but can execute more than one time, right? So 1 or more times. For the for range, make sure that you understand that if you use a for loop, let me go to some code. Let me go ahead and discard this change because I don't want to save it. And let's go to the, I think I wrote some for range code here. Maybe here. I don't remember. Well, actually, maybe if I change to the correct, well, actually, I should be okay in master because I've been merging, so I should be okay. Let me display numbers. Okay, I found it. Very important. You will see this reference operator questions. So if we loop without the reference operator, then we will not be changing the value of alpha. Let me show you. Why? Because it's creating a copy of each character as it loops, right? So ABC. If we use the reference operator, then we will see ZZZ and not ABC. Notice ZZZ. So make sure you pay attention to reference and how it works, because it can net you a lot of positive points on the midterm theory exam. Also, if let me think here. So that, yeah, I think that's all I want to say about that. So make sure you understand this and vector questions. You'll be asked, I already said, right? I think heap. Is it on the heap or the stack? Okay, let me see what else. Make sure that for the expressions, review, not expressions, for conditionals, review how Boolean logic works. Make sure you know the AND operator, the OR operator, and the NOT operator, and how to read them to determine if it returns true or false, okay? Because you will get some of those questions also. The if statements, don't think it's heavy on if statements, right? So that's okay. Also, before I forget, make sure that you review some of the lectures I had initially. So let me show you. So we go to course content. Make sure that you review readings. Go over Introduction to C++ notes, the unit testing notes reading, and the introduction to functions. You will see questions about unit testing. You will see questions about the introduction to C++, like what is in the core library, what is in the standard library. If something is in the standard library, how do you use them in the program? You need to include statements. You need to resolve the namespace using std_cout, using std_vector for the compiler. For unit testing, why is it important to unit test? What are the advantages of unit testing? Okay. If you go over this, then you can also get a lot of free, not free, right, but extra points, just because reviewing this will help you answer those questions. I'm thinking what else. And I'm not covering everything I lectured, right? I'm just trying to go over the material that you should focus on for the exam, because that's what will help you in other classes and in the industry too, okay? So understanding those concepts will take you a long way. You won't be guessing how memory works or how parameters work. You will know, okay? So that's very important. Let me review one, give one. What else? You won't get questions about compile process. You won't get questions about CMake. You'll get stack and heap questions. So for the stack, remember, the stack is last in, first out. It's small memory footprint. It uses memory sequential. C++ manages the memory. Okay, on the heap, it's about 2 to 4 gigabytes of memory. It is random memory. C++ or the developer can manage heap memory. C++ manages it with string and vector, and we can create our own code that creates dynamic memory and uses the heap, so we have to manage that. Also, let me go to functions. Okay, it is important to know that since it is a last in, first out, so every single time we run a program, main is the first program loaded, the first function loaded, and then other functions, in this case get total, and then some other function, right? So in this case, what is the order of input into the stack? So main is first, and then get total, and then some func, right? Some function. When some function finishes executing, then get total finishes executing, and it is so finishes some func finishes executing, removed from memory. Afterward, get total is removed from memory, and main will be in memory up until we close our program. So once our program exits or we close it, then main will be removed from memory also. You will get questions like this, so make sure that you understand how that works, okay? As far as functions, you may get questions that ask you why we want to use functions, right? So these are the answers, right? Like divide and conquer, encapsulation, code reuse, test, maintain, and extend. Okay, so I think this will help you like net a lot of points just by studying this material, learning this material that I covered in this 30 minutes. Okay, thank you.